Hello students, today we're going to be talking about comparing and ordering decimals and fractions. We're first going to focus on decimals. A decimal is a rational number that represents part of a whole, where the part is base 10. Okay, meaning it's in the tenths place, the hundredths place, or the thousandths place. All decimals can also be represented on a number line. Some examples of decimals are 0.4, negative 0.10, so that'd be like spending 10 cents, positive 75, that'd be like you having 3/4 in your pocket, you have 75 cents, or negative 0.80, which would also be like spending 80 cents. Those are all examples of decimals. Use the number line below to order the following positive decimals. So when looking at number 1, we're given a number line, and they're all positive, so that means that all of our numbers are going to be to the right of 0. So now I'm going to go ahead and focus on letter A. Letter A says 4.20. Now notice each of these numbers are split in half. From 0 to 1, there's a halfway mark here. So that could be represented by 0.5, right? We all know that if you have half of a dollar, that would be 50 cents. Going from 1 to 2, that's also split in half. So this would be 1.5. That'd be like having $1.50. This would be, this space between 2 and 3 would be 2.5. This space between 3 and 4 would be 3.5. And then right after 4 would be 4.5. It's halfway. Okay, so now we can accurately place these positive decimals on our number line. When looking at A, I've got 4.2. 4.2, if you have 4.2, that's the same as having $4.20. So if you look all the way over here at your positive 4, $4.20 is more than $4, but less than $4.50. So that's going to be somewhere here in the middle. Letter A. Okay. When looking at letter B, I have 1.6. That would be the same as having $1.60. So I know that's going to be greater than my 1.5, my 1.5, but not quite $2. So that would be right here on my number line, 1.6, letter B. Okay. Letter C is 1.05. That's the same as having $1 and a nickel, $1.05. Okay, so that's going to be right after my $1, right here. And then my 80 cents is definitely going to be greater than my 0.5, my 50 cents, but it's not quite $1. So it's probably going to be somewhere in here. Now looking at number 2, it says to place the following decimals on the number line below. So it gives me both positive and negative decimals. I'm going to go ahead and look at letter A, which is negative 3.5, so that's negative 3.5, meaning that it is going to be more than negative 3, but it's not quite negative 4. If you've spent $3.50, you haven't quite spent $4, but you have spent more than $3. So this point is going to be right about here, letter A, on your number line. When looking at letter B, I've got negative $4.20 or negative 4.2. That would be like spending more than $4, but not quite $5. So that negative 4.2 is going to be right about here. Also note that I didn't put it right in the middle between negative 5 and negative 4, because right in the middle would be negative 4.5. And this number, negative 4.2, is a little less than negative 4.5. So there's my letter B. When I look at letter C, I've got 1.1. So that would be the same as having $1.10. So that's probably going to be really close to my positive 1, right after my positive 1, because I have 1 whole plus 10 cents. but I don't quite have $1.50. So my C is going to be, my letter C is going to be pretty close to my $1. When looking at letter D, I've got negative 2.7. That's the same as spending $2.70. So that's going to be pretty close to my $3. If you spend $2.70, you've spent $2, so you're past negative 2, but you haven't quite spent $3. So that's where your letter D is going to be. Okay, and then when I look at letter E, that's 1.9, which is the same as $1.90. So that's going to be very close to my positive 2, but not quite $2. Now, when we are talking about fractions and comparing fractions, we need to first talk about writing fractions as a division problem. So a fraction bar is one way to represent division. This can be used to convert a fraction to a decimal by dividing the top number, or your numerator, by the bottom, or your denominator. Okay, so for example, A over B is the same as A divided by B. Okay, or A divided by B. So fraction is always represented by division. Okay, or 3 over 4, 3/4 is equal to 3 divided by 4, or 3 divided by 4. This is our process for converting a fraction to a decimal. Fractions can be placed on a number line or converted to a decimal to help order them. Okay, I would highly recommend just converting your fractions to a decimal in order to compare each of those values. So, number 5 asks us to place the following fractions on the number line below. So I'm going to go ahead and start with letter A. I've got 2/5. If I was to take 2 and divide it by 5, I know 5 can't go into 2, so I have to add my decimal 0. That's where my decimal comes from. I'm going to add a 0 above my 2 because 5 is not going into 2. I'm going to bring my decimal up into my quotient, and 5 goes into 24 times evenly. So my decimal value for A would be 0.4, or 40 cents. Okay, and that's a positive number. When looking at letter B, I've got negative 3 1/4. I know that 1/4 is worth 25 cents, so this would be the same as negative 3.25. Because that quarter, that 1 over 4, is equal to 0.25. That's 25 cents. Okay. Then when I look at letter C, that's positive 2 1/10. Okay. That would be the same as having 2 whole dollars and 1/10. That 1 is in the tenths place. So I know that I can write my decimal as 2.1 because this 1 up here is 1/10, and that 1 is in the tenths place. So there's my decimal. When looking at letter D, I've got 2 3/5. Now, I don't know what 3/5 is right off the top of my head, so I'm going to go ahead and figure that out by dividing out that fraction. So over here, I'm going to take 3, my numerator, and divide it by my denominator. 5 can't go into 3 because 3 is too small. So I'm going to put a 0 up here, and I'm going to add a decimal 0, bringing my decimal up into my quotient. 5 goes into 30 6 times because 5 times 6 is 30, with nothing left over. So D would be 2.60, or just 0.6. And then for E, I've got negative 2 3/4. I know that if I have 3/4, I have 75 cents. So this decimal would be written as negative 2.75. Now I want you to take the next couple of minutes to place each of these decimals or these fractions on the number line below. You're going to use your original fraction to put these numbers in order. Okay, so I'm going to give you your first one. 2/5 is 0.4, which is the same as 40 cents. Okay, that's a positive number, and it doesn't have one whole in front of it. So that 40 cents or that 2/5 is going to be right here on your number line. And you need to put your original fraction. Even though you know that that value is 0.4, you need to place your original fraction on the number line because that's what my directions say, original fractions. Okay, if you're still a little bit confused, I'm going to go ahead and do letter B with you as well. Letter B is negative 3¼ or negative 3.25. So if you go over to negative 3, say you spent $3.25, that's going to be right about here because you haven't spent $3.50, you've spent $3.25. It's going to be your letter B, and your value is negative 3¼ So go ahead and take the rest, these next couple of minutes, to place the rest of your letters on this number line.